Hello and welcome back to another episode of the For the Property Investor podcast. And today we've got a very special guest. Now you might actually recognize this special guest. It is the one and only Nick Bendel. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me, Owen. Aren't I usually here every week?
Well, you are, but you are here today in a different capacity.
Ooh.
I do have some sad news to let everyone know that the weekly news is no longer going to be on For the Property Investor podcast, at least. Well, not as we know it. Who knows? I might reinvent it in some other way and bring it back. But as we know it so far, we've had Nick with us for the last couple of years, bringing us the stories every Monday about topical news about property, finance, and the economy in general. But last week was our last episode, and we've got Nick back today with a bit of a special announcement about what Nick's doing moving forward. And so I'm glad to have him on the podcast so that we can talk about it. So Nick, welcome to the podcast in a different capacity.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
And so I guess let's start it, because I know for the past 8 years you've had your business, Hunter and Scribe, and which is a copywriting agency for the finance and property industry in all of us, covering, servicing anyone in the industry, whether it's a mortgage broker, accountant, real estate agent, buyer's agent, anywhere across the country in Australia. So what's your new business?
Well, the new business, and I'm a little embarrassed about the name. It's not a very creative name. The new business is called Nick Bendel, and it is going to do a mix of conference speaking and corporate training and private coaching on the theme of social courage.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, Nick Bendel is a very fitting name, because it is your name. And so I guess it's all about you.
Yes. I mean, in the end, isn't everything all about me?
Well, it's maybe not, and maybe this is where we get the theme of your new business, as you just announced, being about social courage. And so maybe you want to tell us a bit more about that theme and what and why you're doing it.
Well, social courage refers to when we do things where we don't feel ready, or we feel we're going to be judged, or we might even be embarrassed or humiliated. So that might be starting a podcast. It might be giving a speech. It might be volunteering to lead a project at work. It might be cold calling someone. It might be speaking up in an important meeting at work. It might be asking someone out on a date. In those moments, and we all face them in life again and again and again, we often don't live up to the standards that we want to live up to. And it's not because we don't have the knowledge. It's because at that key moment, we hesitate. And we're all guilty of this. So social courage is what makes us take that step, even though we don't feel ready, even though we're scared. And my strong belief that I formed over the past few years is that social courage, it's not a skill we're born with. It's not a talent we're born with. It's a skill we have to learn. And it's very much like a muscle that you have to keep working it. And if you stop working it, it's going to fade away. I like the exercise analogy, because if we're unfit, we can exercise and we can get fit, but we can't then say, well, great, now I'm fit, I never have to exercise again. If we stop exercising, we're going to recede to our former condition. Social courage works the same way. And the reason I became so passionate about it was actually by accident. I set out on a project to have lunch with 500 strangers, which I guess was an example of social courage itself. And I did this because I wanted to improve my social skills. I'm not a social person by nature. I like to stay at home on my own with a good book and a cup of tea. And the reason I started those 500 lunches, it was not long after I'd launched Hunter and Scribe, the business you referred to earlier. And I kind of thought, this new business, I really want it to succeed, but if I'm that person who stays at home on his own and doesn't really like to talk to people and isn't very good at it, that person is going to struggle to build relationships and make sales. So what I need to do is I need to improve my social skills, build a great network, change my mindset. And so even though it was scary, I decided I'd have lunch with 500 strangers. So that was an example of social courage. But then the people I
Mm.
met, it was just a recurring theme of so many of the lunches. And I had lunch with people from all different walks of life, all different
And
ages.
let me come back to that, because I want to deep dive into a bit more of those interesting stories of your lunches, and I've heard about your lunches many times over the years. But firstly, tell me what's before we get into those juicy details. Um, your current business up until now, Hunter and Scribe. What's happening with that? What are you closing it down? What's happening?
Definitely not closing it down. I want it to go for many years to come. I'm very grateful to all the clients we've worked with over the past 8 years, and we've got a lot of loyal clients, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to work with them and to serve them, and I want to keep doing that for many years to come. So Hunter and Scribe, it's a completely different business from the new business. The two businesses are not related in any way, shape, or form. Hunter and Scribe is going to continue.
Okay, good to hear, because I know some of our listeners would be subscribers to your business, or clients of your business, so they would want to know. And there'd be many people that we're putting this content out to on social media that would uh, should probably use your services with Hunter and Scribe. But some of them might be already clients as well, so they would want to know as well. But in terms of your new business with Social Courage, um, and what's your goal with the new business? Now, you might have covered it off a little bit there before, but yeah, let's pin it down. What's your goal? What's your reason for now going in this direction? And how are you launching it?
Okay, well, a few different things there. So my goal is I want to be Australia's #1 expert on social courage. This is something that I'm
Right.
really, really passionate about. It's something that I've spent the past 7 years doing for free. I've been uh, living this for free. I've been researching this for free. I've been reading books, listening to podcasts, watching videos for free on this topic. So it's something that I'm absolutely passionate about. I would do it if I wasn't getting paid, because I've already been doing it without getting paid. And so this is something that I I want to become the #1 person in Australia when it comes to social courage, and I want to help others when it comes to social courage. Now, in terms of how I'm launching the business, well, I guess we're launching it right now. My website actually went live just a few hours ago, and I've just published a book, funnily enough, on the subject. It's called The 500 Lunches Effect: How Social Courage Changes Everything. And I'm also going to be publishing a lot of videos, and I'm going to be cold calling potential clients, which of course takes social courage. So I'll be practicing what I preach.
And it's and well, you need to give us the website.
It is nickbendel.com.
Okay, well, that's easy to remember. And you mentioned that you've been doing this for free for 7 years, or you've been practicing for 7 years. So is that when you started doing the 500 lunches?
It is. I started the 500 lunches in August 2019 and I finished in August 2025. Well, I got to 500 in August 2025. That was my goal. I'm continuing to have lunches with strangers. I'm up to 519 now. And I'm going to keep having lunches with strangers forever because this gives me the opportunity to meet so many remarkable people who interest me, who fascinate me, who teach me things, who become friends. And so I'm never going to stop doing this.
Yes, well, if you follow Nick on socials, particularly LinkedIn, you'll see his posts about I had lunch with my 519th person on my quest to have lunch with 500 strangers. So, has anyone actually picked you up on that in the comments?
A couple of people, they say, wait, I don't get this. You're having lunch with 500 strangers. So why does it say number 519? And then I just explain, well, I'm not very good at counting.
Well, the rest of us know that you are because yeah, you went started at one and you've now gone way past 500 and you've gone through everyone. Now, is it true that you remember everyone that you had lunch with and what their number designation is?
Okay, that's partly true. Can you be partly pregnant? I have a spreadsheet where I have everyone's name and number, and
Do you study it every night?
every second night. So maybe the first 300 people, I remembered everyone's number and name. Now it's starting to get a bit hazy, and some of the numbers are blended into each other. What I can usually do is, if you ask me someone's name, if I don't know their exact number, I usually know their number approximately. But I'm not as good as Glenn McGrath. Glenn McGrath knows the wicket of he knows every single wicket. So if you ask him, like wicket 183, he'll tell you the name of the person he dismissed, where it was, the date it was, the type of delivery. I'm not as good as him when it comes to memory or when it comes to fast bowling.
Did you have lunch with Glenn McGrath?
No, actually, I didn't think to ask him. I did contact a couple of athletes. I can remember contacting Pat Rafter and
Oh yeah.
via his agent, and his agent got back to me very quickly, actually, with a lovely message saying, "Well, Nick, thank you so much. This sounds very interesting. Pat would like to decline your offer." I did contact a few other athletes. Adam Goods was another one. I really want to have lunch with him. I got his mobile phone number actually, and off.
And you stalked him. Yeah.
I I wasn't sure whether to phone him or text him. I thought if I call him, that would be very abrupt, and he would probably just say no because it's so sudden. So I decided instead to text him, and I sent him a very respectful text message explaining who I was and why I was contacting him and how I got his number, and asking if he'd like to meet for lunch, and also saying that if he didn't reply, I would assume he wasn't interested and I would delete his number, which I did. So, but
Because you didn't get a reply?
I didn't get a reply, but I never
Okay.
contacted Glenn McGrath. So maybe I should have
Okay.
lunch with Glenn McGrath, and then he can set me up with Adam Goods.
All right. Well, for the visitors that don't know, just in case, the Pat Rafter is a former tennis player. Won Wimbledon, didn't he?
No, he lost the
No?
Wimbledon final, but he did win the US Open twice. I think in
That's right.
'97 and '98, and
There
he
you
did get
go.
to number one in the world.
Yeah. And Adam Goods is a football player, isn't he?
He played for the Sydney Swans, and he was Australian of the Year, I think, in 2013.
Oh, okay. So he played that ping pong game. Yeah. 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 It's cool. Okay. So he played AFL. Um, and all right, and he didn't even respond. And you gave him an out not to respond.
I did. I don't hold it against him. One of the things I mentioned in the text message was, I'm sure you must get contacted by a lot of crazy people, so I won't hold it against you if you don't respond.
And you put yourself in that bucket of being a crazy person.
Well, I'm friends with you, so there you go.
Good call. Good call there. In terms of the new business, who's going to be the ideal client for you for your new business, and how are you going to work with them?
Well, there are two ideal clients. Part of the business is speaking at conferences. So one type
Okay.
of client will be event organizers, and then the second ideal client, I'm also doing corporate training. So it might be the CEO, or it might be someone on the C-suite, or it might be the head of HR. In fact, and also a third type of client is I'm doing private coaching, and that's probably going to be an executive or an ambitious professional.
Okay. And what would be what type of coaching, executive coaching would it be?
It would be, it's all on the theme of social courage. So I would be helping people who know what they need to do. They're not suffering from a lack of intelligence. They're not suffering from a lack of education or lack of technical skill. But the thing that's holding them back is a lack of social courage. They're not that they don't feel comfortable networking. They don't feel comfortable building relationships. They don't feel comfortable being proactive. They don't feel comfortable putting their hand up at work to lead projects. They don't feel comfortable maybe leaving their job and starting a business. That they know what they need to do, but when it comes to that crucial moment, they hesitate, and that's what I'm going to help them with.
Okay, so let's give a bit of value to anyone listening today, and maybe they're someone that's just started their own business, um, and they're not an executive who'll be able to afford your services, Nick. So yeah, let's give them maybe the three top things that they could do to get them that on a daily basis that would just help them to get out of their comfort zone to help them in their business? What should they do?
I love that question because this is something I've thought a lot about over the past few years, and I've lived. And it wasn't just the 500 lunches. Over the past 6 years, I've cold called more than 6,000 potential clients. And that was terrifying to begin with. And it really did take a lot of social courage to force myself to do that. And one of the things I've learned, Owen, is the key to moving forward at these moments where we hesitate is not to have a perfect plan, because perfect plans don't get executed. It's to have an imperfect plan that involves you doing the bare minimum you need to move forward. Now, if we go with this cold calling example, a perfect plan would be to cold call 200 people a day. But if you just say to someone who's terrified of cold calling, you need to cold call 200 people a day, they're going to be so overwhelmed that they're not going to call anyone. But if you say to them, you only need to cold call one person a day, it's still going to be hard, but they'll probably do it. And so ironically, they'll actually make more calls with a plan of one per day than they will with a plan of 200 per day. So my number one tip would be come up with an imperfect plan that is tailored for you and that helps you, that makes it as easy as possible for you to do this scary thing. A second bit of advice I would give is I think there's a misconception that we achieve big outcomes in life from taking big dramatic actions, but that is rarely the case. We achieve big outcomes from doing small things many, many times. I liken it to filling a bathtub one drop at a time. The key though is you have to keep adding drops to the bathtub. So my second tip would be come up with something, some sort of system that is going to allow you to keep doing whatever this scary thing is. And it has to be a system that works for you personally, not a system that works for Nick or Owen or anyone else. And so it has to take account of your personality and your values and just practicalities like the time you have and the resources you have available. And probably a third tip I would give is one of the things that holds us back, and this is another big lesson I've learned through my lunches. We all have insecurities, and we tend to think that because our insecurities are so salient for us, that everyone else is noticing our insecurities and we're the only one with the insecurities because we're feeling them so strongly. So we assume everyone else must be seeing it, and no one else seems to look like they've got a care in the world. In actual fact, everyone else is just as insecure as you. I've had a lot of insecurities. I've still got them. The reason other people don't look insecure is not because they're not, but because they've had decades of experience hiding it. And even though you feel insecure, you don't project it, because you've also had decades of experience hiding it. And once you know that everyone else is just as insecure as you, and you're not projecting it in the way that you think, it doesn't make the insecurities disappear, but it does make it easier to consciously think your way past those insecurities and to do those things that feel scary. A lot of us believe that we'll do these things once we get the confidence. We think the confidence is the key to taking action, but actually confidence is the result of taking action.
You're 100% right there, Nick. It's I remember back to my early days of uh, starting in business, and yeah, it's scary putting
Mm.
yourself out there and reaching out to people to be able to ask for business, ask for referrals, that type of thing. And I can't even remember who said it or where I heard it. Um, but it was, there was the story about just focusing on the 1% a day.
Mm.
1% improvement on a daily basis, it's not a huge mountain. You're just looking at that one small thing that you can improve on a daily basis. And if you do that every single day and you just be consistent with it, then the compounding effect of that over a whole year is just going to be huge. And if you do that over a 5-year period, then you become a totally different person, and and your life becomes completely different. And that's where a lot of people get lost in what do I do? It's I have to do this big, massive effort to make a huge change in my life. It's like, no, you just have to focus on today and what you can do today, that little 1%. So, um, no, that's great, Nick. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do with this. And you said you wrote a book.
Mm.
Have you got a copy of the book? Are you showing it? Are you allowed to?
I should have had one with me right now. I've actually got a copy of the book 6.3 meters behind me. Would you give me a few seconds to go and get a copy?
Yes, I think I can see it. Quick,
Okay,
run.
you fill the dead air while I get a copy of the book.
All right. So here we can see Nick running backwards. Yep, he's got the trackies on because it's a cold winter's day. And here we go. The 500 Lunches Effect, How Social Courage Changes Everything by Nick Bendel. So can we get it where all good books are sold?
You can indeed. It's on Amazon, Booktopia, I think QBD, Kobo, at least six places that I know of, Barnes and Noble, and there's an audio book that's going to be released in a few weeks as well.
Okay, I was just about to ask because it's I'm a very avid audiobook listener. Um, so for those audiobook listeners, very good. It's and how will you get clients for your new business? It's like how will they find you, and what would they be looking to employ your services for?
Okay. How am I going to get clients? Well, can I give you a scoop now? There's
Sure.
there's something I'm planning to do, and I don't think I've told you about this. Uh,
Okay.
I'm going to do a thing called the 5,000 Rejection Project. Have I told you about this?
No, you haven't.
Okay, I've set myself a goal to get rejected 5,000 times by potential clients for this new business.
Fantastic. I love it.
Well, thank you. Maybe you should be the first person to reject me. Owen, would you like to give me a lot of money?
Well, define a lot of money, Nick.
Well, you should have said no. That was going.
Well, I was expecting you to come out with some ridiculous amount of money. Then I was going to say no. Yeah.
So my feeling, a few reasons why I'm aiming for rejections rather than clients. Firstly, I think it's impossible to get 5,000 rejections and not get a lot of clients along the way.
Yeah.
Second, it is the very sort of social courage that we've been talking about. And following on from that, we can control our actions, but we can't control the outcomes. Excuse the rather crude metaphor, but if I'm sorry, if you're the world's greatest salesman, Owen, but you try to sell me a tampon, I will say no, not because you're not a good salesman and not because it's not a good product, but I don't need a tampon. And so you can only you can only control your actions, but you can't control the outcomes. And so I don't want to focus on results. I just want to focus on my own actions. If I put myself in front of thousands of potential clients, one after another, if I get 5,000 rejections, I know I'll get a lot of clients. And then the other reason I'm focusing on the rejections is one of the things that holds us back, and this held me back for many, many years, was a fear of rejection, because the story we tell ourselves, and this is often at an unconscious level, is that if I'm getting rejected, it must mean that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. So rejection is something that most of us fear. But if you change the story in your head to not I'm trying to avoid rejection, but I'm trying to get rejection, then you've got a completely different attitude to rejection and it loses its hold over you. And so that's another reason why I'm actively seeking 5,000 rejections. And I still need 5,000 because you unfortunately did not reject me.
Oh no, let me make it clear. You're completely rejected, Nick. I am not going to give you a lot of money.
Okay, well, only 4,999 to go.
Yes. But if you give me a good reason to, like, in the future, you never know. I might give you a little bit of money.
Okay, so you're walking back your rejection. I think we're back to zero rejections.
Well, Nick, I'm excited to see this new business and how well it will go for you. And everyone, if they need to find you, nickbendel.com. And if they want a copy of your book, just look up, pull the book up again, The 500 Lunches Effect, at your favorite bookstore location. So thanks, Nick, for coming on. Again, sad to be leaving you for the weekly news segment, but we'll have more great guests on the podcast coming soon. And it was good to have you on to talk about the new chapter in your business life.
Well, thank you, Owen. It's been a great chat. And I loved the examples you shared about the social courage you've displayed in your own life and your own business career as you went out and built a business. As we all know, it can be hard and scary and lonely building a business, and it requires so much social courage. So thank you for sharing your story as well.
Yes. Thank you, Nick. And thank you, everyone. And if you want to get in touch with Nick, yes, through his website, but of course on the socials, mainly LinkedIn is the best place to connect with you, isn't it, Nick?
It is.
Okay, fantastic. Well, great to have you on again. And no doubt we'll be in contact on a regular basis. But so if anyone needs a direct introduction to Nick for his new services, feel free to reach out to myself as well. So we'll be seeing you again, Nick. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And stay tuned for other special guests that we'll have on in the near future.